Yo, what's going on, guys? It is Fox98 here. Welcome back to another episode of F1 2020 Subscriber Championship for you guys today here on the channel. We're here for the third round of the little season here for the Dutch Grand Prix around the Zandvoort circuit. A track that I traditionally have a lot of fun with. I love the circuit. It's such a fun track to drive on the game. It is literally an F1 go-kart track. In real life, I have my doubts whether it'll actually be fun. But on the game, it's a hell of a lot of fun. So let's get straight into it then. So as you can see then, we're here for qualifying now, trying to set our qualifying laps as per usual as we now go through the this very difficult complexes of corners. If you end up enjoying today's video though, feel free to drop it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're only around here as well. And we're going to continue to press onwards. As you can see here, just changing some settings on my steering wheel that I normally like to change. And now we can crack back on with a lap here. So far though, been a bit of a scruffy first sector. Not the greatest in the world with a 30.6 there, but obviously we need to press onwards now as we go into this middle sector, which is traditionally for the AIs anyway on the game, absolutely stupidly overpowered and you're never going to beat them. Whereas, obviously, still anyway, I just don't feel that happy about the middle sectors normally. It's this final sector coming up now where I really do enjoy myself. But at the moment, we're not actually setting any purple lap times, so it's quite clear that some other drivers are a little bit quicker than us today, which is nice. So as we now go through in towards the last sector here, dropping it down to 5th gear, making sure that we don't get invalidated on that curve, of course. We are running with strict corner cutting rules, so obviously it can be very difficult to stay within the confinements of the race circuit. We cross the start-finish line though, and you're going to see a couple of drivers getting their lap times deleted for track limits. But as we come across the line now, it's P4 for the Dutch Grand Prix, so it's a nice starting position for us today, and we're going to go find out who is on pole, and it is Hazard then that takes pole position for the Dutch Grand Prix. My teammate doing a wonderful job there. Wingman up on the front row of the grid with Callisto. How many times has Callisto started third in sub? Has he started third in like every single race that we've done so far? I swear down. This man is just too consistent in life. So I actually want to go ahead and I wanted to check what my gap was to Hazard. He set a 30.2 first sector, and I set a 30.6. Middle sector, he set an 18.3. I set an 18.4. And then he set a 21.5, and then I set a 21.4. How that results to 0.334, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. But as you can see then, we're going to be starting P4 in the race, so let's just see how we can get on then. Try and have a little bit of fun. That is the whole purpose of Sub-Champ. If anyone tries to take this super seriously, I mean, you can, but you're just kind of wasting your time, really. So, yeah, let's get straight into it, and let's see what we can do around the Dutch Grand Prix of Zandvoort as we wait for one driver to ready up then as we go now. Ready onto the grid here for 5 red lights, and it's time for the Dutch Grand Prix, and it's lights out, and away we go, and it's been a good start for us off the line there as we can see Callisto getting a better start than Wingman, who didn't get the greatest getaway into turn 1 now. We get very close to the back of Wingman. We've got one of the AlphaTauris alongside us, but we push them wide and stay in front of them, which is beautiful for us as we maintain P4 then in the Dutch Grand Prix. Round now in towards this lovely backed corner of turn 3. Now we can get onto the power here and try and chase down Wingman as Hazard leads the Grand Prix, making a nice start in his race as he now blasts through as we now break into 6th gear down in towards the end of the first sector now, trying to see if we can hover around Wingman, trying to suss him out a little bit and see what we can do to the Alfa Romeo driver. Of course, I don't think he's actually been this far up before in Sub-Champ in terms of just that naturally racing here. He just had a brilliant qualifying session. Now we'll have to see if we've got the pace to actually get past him now. As you can see here, actually has got an X by his name, but it actually disappears nice and quickly. I was actually a bit daunted there, so we take our first corner cut in warning though with the track limits there. I thought that Wingman would break much earlier because I thought he actually legit went into AI mode, and the AIs are obviously on 40%, so it would have been, you know, that amount, but it clearly wasn't. So nothing to worry about there, and we'll just have to take that one on the chin and move onwards. But at the end of the first lap then, Hazard leads the Grand Prix. Callisto is in 2nd place, Wingman is in 3rd, and we are in 4th. The only driver that's moved around is Callisto, who's now jumped in front of Wingman there. But for us though, we're just going to follow the train and see how we get on, pretty much. But we can't follow the train anymore because we've got a virtual safety car that has now just popped up to say hello in this Grand Prix. And that is for Wizards, who DNF'd from the Grand Prix. The virtual safety car now comes to a close here, and we can now try and get underway here in this Grand Prix. And we've got to drive through a penalty for speeding under the safety car, the virtual safety car. That's really fun. I love this game so much. The funniest thing about all of that is we're now trying to attack Wingman here out of all this, getting a very nice restart though on him. We actually move up into 3rd place. Do you know what the funny thing was about all of that? Is that you would have just seen it. I mean, I'm going to put it, I'll put it at the end of the video anyway. But under the VSC, I literally my Delta was green the whole time. And it still gave me a drive-through. This game's awesome. We're coming into the pits, though. We're going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. Yeah, fantastic. Awesome. Right, where are we going to drop down to now? Only P10. Oh, that's not too bad then. That could have been worse. As we now go through onto the exit of the pits there, we've got a crasher there. We've got Blue Ranger in the Red Bull going for a little bit of a spin. As Morgan now in the McLaren, who's jumping on in as that cheeky little reserve driver there. Oh, for God's sake, we've got another virtual safety car. Oh, do you want to just give me another drive-through penalty then, game? Should we do that? Should we just chuck up another one? The virtual safety car's ending. Here we go, guys. We're in the red, so that means that we get drive-through penalties. Now as we speed along... Oh, no, we're fine. Our Delta was lower than the first time. Whatever. Anyway, no drive-through penalty this time around. I'm guessing my Korean lawyers are already on their way over to the Dutch Grand Prix circuit to sort that one out. But as we now get back racing once again, we're down in P9, and pretty much I have no idea where I'm going to be able to finish in this race anymore now. So enlist, or should we say, let's welcome along not Tom Jong-un to this Grand Prix, but the Supreme Leader, as we're now going to fight our way through the field here. As Constant Soda, clearly not using any of his ERS. I was a little bit clumsy there as we go off the circuit in doing so, but we're going to go around the outside of Soda in towards this end of the first sector now, getting very close side by side, and we make our way through. And he was defending actually very nicely in the middle of the circuit. I kind of just didn't really know where to go, and I carried so much momentum and speed that I actually just bumped into the back of him, which didn't really, I hope it didn't cost him anything, but then I actually went off the circuit myself, so a little bit scrappy, but it is what it is. I was kind of a bit mad, let's just put it that way. But we're catching up to the back of Bacon Boys now, and we've got the DRS here. He's clearly using a lot of his battery here, I think, anyway, because it's finding it a little bit difficult to breeze through. But we do so, a Zombie there on the exit of turn 1 clearly must have got too close to that curb, and it does spin you around that curb, and he is around, and that puts us up into 5th place now. So, unfortunately, this is pretty much where I'm going to have to just chill out, because, I mean, we're on to lap 8 of the Grand Prix now, and there's no way that I can catch the front runners. They're just over 10 seconds clear now. So that's a bit of a shame for us, as we now are going to go into the pits here for the 2nd time now, but for our first legitimate pit stop of the Grand Prix. The first time around was for something out of my own control. Boxing now for a set of the medium compound tyres, and it's pretty much now where I'm actually going to find myself. So Wingman and Sam are up the road, but I've just spotted once they were coming through that they've got a 3-second time penalty for Sam and a 5-second time penalty for Wingman. So, I don't know, my pace was very, very strong. I think I was one of the fastest out there. I couldn't really show it on the soft tyres because I was too busy fighting traffic. But I think that I've got the pace to try and do something spectacular. So we set a purple middle sector here, as we now have caught up to the back of Morgan again, who's on his medium compound tyres, still yet to stop in this Grand Prix. He gets a bad exit, and I can't bother to wait for the start-finish straight. In fact, he actually lets me through towards the last corner. So either a, thank you very much for letting me through, I'm quicker than you, or I'm going to let you through, try and overtake you with DRS, and it didn't work. So we set the fast lap of the race, though. You can see Sam up ahead is 6 seconds clear of us, now 5.9. But we've now got the benefit of my fastest laps, and he's got a time penalty. I don't yet. But now we're onto the back of Constant Soda once again, and if you've not realised why I invented the name Switchback Racing League, you'll find out why, because I've done a cheeky little switchback there on Constant Soda. In fairness, he is still racing on those soft compound tyres. Why he hasn't stopped yet, I've no idea. I'm presuming he wants to try and eke out his stint and get track position over guys behind him, but the fresh compound tyres just absolutely minced it. After that point, though, it was a very dry race, and the reason it was dry is because Sam and Wingman were fighting really, really hard like they are now, and eventually they all closed up to Callisto, and I managed to close up to the back of them. So now we've got the DRS here on Wingman, and we're going to go round the outside into the chicane. In fact, I think he might have let me through there. I'm not really sure under braking there, but we managed to get through up into P5. Now, no matter what, we've now got the position on Sam, because he's got that 3-second time penalty. Callisto now runs in P3. Sam is P4, we are P5. The rest, the top two, unfortunately, are out of reach. But it's quite clear that we've had incredible pace, because we've managed to catch all the way back up to the top 3 after the drive-through penalty. Now, as you can see here, Sam, though, is going to be the next man on my hit list as we get on the exit of the back corner. Sam, clearly not using any of his engine modes here. We're going to use our ERS. We're going to go super tight now to the inside line. Sam was terrified that I was making this move, and I completely understand why. A little bit of contact there on the back as Sam makes a little bit of a tab onto the back of us as Callisto there. Looks like he went onto the grass slightly, but now we're up into 4th place in this Grand Prix. With this being the last lap now of the race, is there an opportunity that we can get past Callisto in this Grand Prix? We'll have 1 or 2 DRS zones actually to try and get this one done, or 1.5 should I say. Now as we open up the DRS on this straight, we're not close enough though to the back of Callisto, unfortunately. So we now go in towards this last chicane here. Is there any way that we can find our way through on Callisto? Not quite though. Unfortunately, we've got one driver here who's actually disconnected, I think, in front. So now Callisto is going to go in towards this second to last corner. Gets too tight onto the curb then. Now we'll open up the rich mixture and ERS. Now we have to turn it off slightly, turn it back on again. DRS is enabled. We're going towards the start finish line. It's a photo finish across the line, but it's going to be P3 across the start finish line with a gap of 13 hundredths of a second between myself and Callisto across the start finish line. What a sensational last lap, and what a sensational recovery drive actually. To finish only, I think it was 5 seconds behind Hazard, my teammate, after serving a drive-through penalty, was quite spectacular actually, considering I also had to fight a lot of cars in that race to get to where I was. That was fun. That was really, really fun. Apart from the drive-through penalty being BS, that was fun. I really enjoyed myself there. And as you can see, it's another double podium for Racing Point. So big up the Racing Points. We absolutely smashed it once again. So really, really happy to see our cheeky little Racing Points doing their own little thing there. So as you can see, the champagne flies. And we're now going to go and have a look at the full race results here and see how everybody finished. So I think it was Robin that won. Yeah, so Robin wins by 5 seconds over Hazard. Again, we only finished 10 seconds off the lead, which is just mad. Callisto in P4, ahead of Sam in 5th place. Wingman was in 6th, Zombie 7th, Bacon 8th, Big Dar 9th, and Constant Soda in 10th. And then you can see the rest of the board there. So, without further ado though, we're going to go and have a look at my drive-through penalty in detail, because we need to see, basically, if it's going to get removed or not. Alright, so it's time to address the elephant in the room. And as I've obviously said in the video, I was actually unhappy at the time of racing with regard to the virtual safety car and how I believe that the ticking event within the game actually cost me with a drive-through penalty. So after the race, I actually went ahead and spoke to Sam and basically asked him to review my footage in order to deem whether the drive-through was fair or unfair. Because obviously, from my perspective, I felt it was unfair. And obviously, I do the stewarding in this series, and obviously, if I stewarded this one, you know, it would have been a complete one-sided way. So I spoke to Sam and I sent the footage over to him. But obviously, I'll let you guys know as well what I actually thought about it. Now, unfortunately, I can't actually slow down my own gameplay because this footage was actually so badly corrupted, I actually don't know how I've managed to keep the whole thing intact. It took a while to fix it all, but nonetheless, it just means that I can't edit and slow it down. So I'm going to give you the frame by frame here. So this is the first virtual safety car that we're going to look at right now. As you can see, the virtual safety car is ending. In the top of your screens, we have got a positive delta of plus a tenth of a second positive delta. As we start moving along now, you can see that the ticking delta is now dropping. It's now dropped to 0.75, drops to 0.14 by here. Now this is where it can get a little bit complicated, because surely at this point, obviously, it does mean that the next point that you're going to drop over, it should potentially tick over into the negative. Now this is where I got a little bit fussed about it. As you can see at this point right now, as everything is all starting to change and tick over, I've actually dropped off of the throttle. I'm no longer using any of my throttle, and I've actually not, well, I'm not braking because there's no need to brake, but I've actually taken my foot completely off of the throttle. As we then move forward a little bit further here, you can see that as everything is still ticking, you can see that we're still continuously dropping in our overall speed. So even if the thing is starting to tick, we should be dropping at this point. And as you can see, the game has already given the drive-through in point by here. But it's continuing to drop. Eventually then, as we drop down to 146 after we were around about 150, that's when it comes through. The biggest thing that I spoke to Sam about is obviously the delta is still in the green. So if you're going to tick over and say that you're having a drive-through for speeding, then you might want to tell me on my delta that I'm speeding. From my point right here, as you can see, we're going to go from one frame to the next. You can see here that I then, from one frame to the next, get a drive-through. But the delta is still ticking at the positive. that's kind of where I spoke to Sam about and was like, this is kind of stupid and it doesn't make any sense. If I was in the red, literally just flick into the red by there for it then to disappear and then say drive through. If you're not going to give the player any time to react when their delta is still green and positive, then what's the point? Now, this was the only thing that I showed to Sam, and he found it a bit of a tough call, but eventually he decided with his opinion, which we will state a little bit later. And as you can see then, we're going to scroll across to the second virtual safety car, because it was only whilst I was editing this video that I actually spot what happens here. Now watch this virtual safety car, and this is why I found it just really quite funny actually. So as we're going along now here, you can see that our delta was in the red, and now we're back into the positives again. The virtual safety car is ending. Watch the delta though this time. It's down to 0.027, then it ticks down to 0.008. Now this is the critical thing here, and this is why I wanted to address this, because I know it probably gets some backlash, and I don't, it is what it is, right? So we're at 0.08. As we now move on frame by frame, you can see here that we are not dropping in speed. We're still accelerating at this point. I am going flat out, foot straight to the floor, and we're increasing our speed. As we're now ticking over, you can see that as the delta drops there, now we should technically get a warning of a drive through there. I'm still going flat out. Yes, I'm in lean fuel mixture, and yes, I was not using overtake like I was in the first safety car, but the first crucial thing is I'm still accelerating. Whereas on my previous one, I actually took my foot off the throttle, and on this one, my delta is only 8/1000ths of a second after it dropped from 200ths of a second, and then we blast onwards. Now, this is obviously the thing. If I was going to go that quick, then surely on the VSC on the first time around, if it could drop from 0.2027 to 0.008, then surely it can drop from 0.0014 to minus whatever it is, and I can dip off and then go ahead. So that was kind of the issues on in there. After reviewing that, Sam did decide that the drive-through penalty was unfair and it was the game's ticking fault, and there was nothing that I could do because my delta was constantly in the green. It never went red, so what am I meant to do about it? So we came to the conclusion that we decided to remove the time loss that I took from driving in the pits and coming out, which does obviously mean, as we'll go into the Drivers' Championship in just a second, that it does mean that the results have changed. So after reviewing the drive-through penalty and coming to the conclusion that, quite frankly, the game's ticking overtime, as we saw from both of the footages, was pretty bad, we decided to remove, or Sam, should I say, decided to remove the drive-through penalty. So after timing it out, it was around about 15 seconds to do a drive-through, 15, 16. So it does mean that we came across the line and would have won the Dutch Grand Prix. So that's exactly what's happened in the championship. So pretty much everyone has stayed the same, bar the top three have had a little bit of a swap. So Robin and Hazard have gone down a place, and then I've gone up to the front there. As you can see then, in terms of the Drivers' Championship though, we have a 12-point lead in the Drivers' Championship. It's still absolutely nothing, it's not a big lead at all. With Callisto, probably one of the most consistent out of everybody there, with 3rd place, 4th place, 4th place. Also Hazard, to his credit. Bahrain wasn't a good race for him, but he's been on the podium every other race since, so fair play to him, but it is 56 points to our name, 44 to Robin. Callisto on 39 with Hazard on 36. Hayden is on 28 points with Azzy on 25, although he hasn't been able to show up for the previous 2 races. Sam is on 19 points with Wingman on 14. And then we've got Resonate and Zombie both on 10. Soda is on 5. Bacon is on 4. And then you can see the rest of them there. In terms of the Constructors' Championship, Racing Point have 92 points to their name, ahead of AlphaTauri on 63 points, with Ferrari on 41, McLaren on 35, and the rest you can see for yourselves. But that is going to be it for Subscriber Championship round number 3 for today here at the Dutch Grand Prix. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed it. Let me know what you thought of the race in the comment section down below. And also, I'm going to put this out here because I know there's just going to be people that may shout or complain. Let me know what you thought about the drive-through penalty. Did you think it was fair? Did you think it was unfair? Because at the end of the day, this championship can literally change by the second. So if you think that the drive-through penalty should have stood and that I shouldn't have won this race, tell me, because I could change it. It's not that difficult. It's called going onto the spreadsheet and putting me down as 15 points rather than 25. So let me know. But yeah, until that, guys, I will see you for the next race in Austria. For now, guys, I'm out.